What is poppin', fight fans, and welcome to another episode of the Mystic Hour Live. And I am joined by my Haitian brother, my Haitian brother. You might know him as Neil Magny. I know him as Neil Jacques Magny, fresh to the meat streets in Brooklyn, New York. He holds that record for most wins in just a 12-year calendar, alongside Kevin Holland as well. Wins over Johnny Hendricks, Carlos Condit, Robbie Lawler, all former champions. My man, Neil Magny. Welcome to the show, boss.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. And when I first heard you in there and they said Neil, the Haitian sensation, I was like, what? Neil Magny is Haitian? Why do I not know this? Why did it take so long for that information to be out there in the MMA world?
I had to start embracing that a lot more. I mean, it wasn't until my most recent mission trip to Haiti where I really wanted to embrace that nickname, just to kind of give hope to some of the younger people out there that I was working with. So every mission trip that I've been to prior to that, it was cool to be able to work with kids and that kind of thing. But I noticed that once the kid got to be about 14, 15, the adolescent years, it was more difficult to get people to get like sympathy and pour into them and that kind of thing, help with their needs and that kind of stuff. So one trip that I went there, I remember being around a group of kids and I just started speaking Creole to one of the people there as a translator. And then the kid's face was just kind of like, wait, what? Like, you're a Haitian guy? I'm like, yeah. And then his jaw literally just dropped. And he was just like, oh, but how can it be? Like, how can someone like who speaks my language, who's from where I'm from, like be in the position that you're in now? And I'm just like, yeah, man, like anything's possible. What do you mean? Like dream big and go for it. So for me, it was just kind of like every chance that I get, whether I'm on TV, whether I'm on an interview, whatever else may be, if I can kind of give some hope to that little Haitian boy to kind of reach for the stars and try to do whatever he can, like I'm gonna take the opportunity to do that. So every time that I get announced for a UFC fight as a Haitian sensation, I want a little Haitian boy to realize, like, damn, if he can do that, I can do this, and just go for whatever it is that they're trying to shoot for.
That is so awesome. And you know what? You're encouraging a younger Haitian boy like me to reach for my dreams. So that's awesome. They used to call me Haitian Sensation in high school. So you kind of took my nickname, but of course you can have it because you're in there in the cage
I'll
doing
fight
that.
you, boy. How about that?
No, I'm good. I'm gonna let you have it. But growing up Haitian, so how did your parents take that? Because I grew up Haitian, and it's a little hard for them to watch, a rougher sport, seeing people in there bloodied up, and it's different for them.
Yeah, so my parents, she didn't. My mother never got behind it. My grandmother hated it.
Oof.
She literally was like, "Man, would you do anything else but fighting? I just hate fighting." And when it came to like winning my grandmother over, I was like, "Well, these are my choices. I can go back to the army and get deployed again. I can go back to Chicago police and just be on the streets patrolling, or I can do what I'm doing right now." And when I explained to her that way, she was just like, you know what? Have fun in your next fight. Go ahead and enjoy yourself. Like, I'd much rather you do that to be in any of those other situations.
Yeah, and any of your favorite dishes growing up, any specific Haitian food that you loved or still love it to this day?
Yeah, to this day, I mean, the hard part is being in Colorado. You don't get that chance to really experience some of that food. But every time I go home with my mother, she always has like a pot on the stove and a fresh plate ready to go. So whether it's like rice and beans, like whether it's the famous Lumbee dish, whatever it may be, she constantly got something cooking in the kitchen. So I definitely appreciate that.
That's awesome, Neil. And 2014, that was your probably most active year. You fought so many times. You won 5 times in that year. What do you remember the most fighting in 2014?
The biggest thing for me was just enjoying every aspect of that era or that
Yeah.
run for me. Like it was weird because the year prior, 2013, it was the exact opposite. I had 2 fights in UFC that year. I'm sorry, 3 fights in UFC that year, and I went 1-2. So going in 2014, I was kind of like, damn, I might get cut. Like I wasn't even sure I was gonna be in the UFC much longer going into 2014. And I remember walking into the gym and just kind of sitting there before a wrestling practice, and I was talking to my coach at the time, just like, man, I don't know if I'm getting cut. I'm not sure if I'm getting another chance. And just kind of really worked up about it. And then Donald Cerrone kind of walked in and was just like, bro, whether you get cut or not, let's just find out. Go ahead and send Joe Silva at the time, who's a matchmaker, an email and try to figure out when the next fight's going to be and kind of take it from there. Worrying about it's not going to change anything. So jump in there and see what happens. So I literally took the opportunity to send Joe Silva a message. So, hey, I'm in the gym. I'm training. I'm looking for an opportunity. I'd love to get back in there as soon as possible. And literally that day he hit me up. I was like, oh, we got something for you. How about in 3 weeks? I was like, I'll take it. Whatever it is, whoever it is, wherever it is, I'll take it. And I kind of like started my official journey in UFC, so to speak. I mean, I took that fight short notice, and I kind of been kind of became known as a guy that's willing to fight short notice against anyone or whatever. So that kind of opened up the door for me to get a lot of opportunities. So within 18 months, I was able to fight 10 times for the UFC, and I'm going 9-1. So it all started with a simple email to Joseph at the time saying, "I'm ready to go. Put me in there against whoever." And I kind of took off from there.
That's incredible. That's probably one of the greatest runs we've seen. That's not spoken about enough. Seriously, beating Kevin Gastelum. I remember that time period. You were just going through them. But now we have the past year. You haven't fought as much. We haven't seen you since you fought Jeff Neal. Is there any specific reason that you're not fighting? Are you injured, or are they just not offering you fights? I know you have one coming up, which we'll speak about, but were they not offering you fights in that time period?
No, I'm healthy. I'm good to go. I'm reaching out to UFC trying to get fights. I mean, the difficult thing right now is being stuck in that number 7, 8 position in UFC. It makes it difficult. If you're a top 10 guy, you're trying to fight a guy ranked top 5. If you're a top 5 guy, you want to fight other guys ranked in the top 5. So if you're ranked number 6 through 9, you're kind of just like stuck there, waiting for an opportunity, so to speak. So that's kind of what it fell into. I mean, at this point, it just became like, what fight made the most sense for my opponents? Not necessarily me, but my opponents. So it was like, if the number 10 guy gets a fight against the number 5 guy, then why waste time messing around with number 7 guy? Just skip right over that and take the number 5 guy. So I can't really fault some of the guys for that decision. And the same thing vice versa. If you're a number 5 guy and you're having to fight back to the top 10, I mean, you might as well pick the opponent that you match up best with. And I think that's what ended up happening last year.
Yeah, and do you think the UFC was protecting a guy like Hazmat away from you, so you couldn't like take away from that streak that he was going on, and because they want to promote him so much, he has so many Instagram followers. You think they were trying to protect him?
I would love to straight my ego and say they were trying to protect him and how to free, but the reality of it is, at the end of the day, this is a business, and for them, it was like, all right, cool. If Hazmat is hot right now, and he's the guy that the people want to see fight. How can we make this the biggest fight possible? Do we put him against Neil, or we put him against a guy like? He can literally jump in there and fight for a title shot. And not many fans will complain. So you kind of put him on the back burner, wait for opportunity, and kind of maximize his earning potential as far as like being able to sell pay-per-views and that kind of thing. Or do you put him to the ring with a veteran like me and see what he's really made of? And if I'm Khamzat manager, if I'm his coaches, I'm like, hey, I get you eager and ready to fight everyone, but let's hold out a bit and let's wait for this right opportunity to present itself and not worry about fighting Neil at the moment. So at the end of the day, I think it was more of a tactical business move more than UFC trying to protect a particular fighter or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and Dana White always praises you when he has interviews and post-fight conferences. Always say Neil's this, Neil's that, Neil's this. Why is he not giving you those opportunities as well? To fight a Gilbert Burns, to fight Bilal Muhammad, who you guys were agreeing to fight on Instagram, had no problem with it, and they're not putting these fights together.
Yeah, and that's the other hard thing that goes with. Like, a lot of guys would agree to fight on paper and call people out and that kind of thing, but the reality is, behind the scenes, there's a lot more going on that fans get to see. So, like the Bilal Muhammad fight, for example, like, I'm sure at the time he wanted that fight against me. But then when he talks to your manager's like, "Hey, I want to fight Neil." Your manager's like, "Whoa, slow down here. Like we got these other fights that we can make. Let's not jump in there too quick and try to fight Neil. Like, we got Wonderboy coming off a loss. He's ranked higher. What if I try to get you that fight instead?" And as a manager, like, I can't fault him for what he did, but as a fighter, I can't help but feel like, damn, there was an opportunity to fight a top 10 guy, and now I'm stuck waiting again for another top 10 guy, top 5 guy, whoever it may be.
Yeah, and the news of Max Griffin came out. I don't know if that's official yet. They just some news sites will report it. But do you feel okay fighting somebody who's not ranked? Max is not ranked in the top 15. Is it something for you? You think about it as in, let me get these reps in. Let me just go in there and get some cage time, or it doesn't matter to you?
At the end, so the whole match situation, that's not official yet or anything like that. But at the end, at the point of my career right now, like it's difficult to watch everybody else fight and be the guy left on the outside. You watch it, you can see it time and time again. A guy wins a fight and says, "I want to fight Conor McGregor next. I want to fight Nate Diaz next." It's like, bro, you just beat the number 3 guy and you're asking to fight Nate Diaz or Conor McGregor, like, who's not in your weight class and not looking to fight anyone near your caliber or rank or anything like that. So you kind of notice that kind of thing happening in the UFC and some other sports, whatever it may be. So being in the position I am now, it's like, all right, cool. If I'm not going to get the fight against the top 10 guy, top 5 guy, where else it may be, let me go out there and live off of my name, so to speak. Like I'm the guy who is kind of in a position for a younger up and coming guy to kind of challenge. I'm the guy in position right now for someone trying to break the top 10, top 5, whatever it may be, to challenge. So rather than wait for some of these guys who maybe themselves or imagine feel entitled not to fight me. Maybe I put myself in a position like, all right, cool. If you guys want to break through the top 10, come on at it. I'll be that guy. And I climb the ranks that way. But for me, it's more so get out there and do what I love. I mean, there were two instances where I was pulled away from the sport for a significant amount of time. One was a injury that took me out for 9 months. The other one was a USADA situation that took me out for 16 months. And during both of those times, there's nothing I wanted more than to fight. So now the position I'm in right now, where I'm healthy, eager, ready to go. I don't want to waste time. It's already been 8 months since my last fight. I want to wait 12 months for my next fight. So whoever it is, I'm ready to take that challenge against him.
Yeah, and this past weekend we had Francis Ngannou defend his heavyweight championship against Cyril Gane in a fight that nobody thought that we would see Francis Nurmagomedov in there just going for the takedowns. But he had a lot of pressure and a lot of things going on before he went into that fight. Contractual issues with the UFC, a lot of other things with his manager. Do you feel that Francis is the guy that can get these changes made for you guys in actually being independent contractors?
No. If I'm being honest, Francis is one of those guys that stands in the way of it. There was an incident where I spent literally hours trying to convince Francis Ngannou that it's in his best interest to kind of get behind some of his peers and help his peers kind of rise to the occasion, so to speak, and help his peers get to that point. And I literally, like, I spent hours trying to convince this man why he should. And at the time, I used Demetrius Johnson as the example. And I was looking at it, like, man, Demetrius Johnson is literally the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now. Like, the guy just outclasses everyone he's put against. But because of his weight class, because of his pay-per-view sales, whatever else may be, a lot of people felt as if he wasn't getting paid what he needed to get paid. So I was like, man, like, what if us as UFC athletes got behind Demetrius Johnson and helped promoted him as the next big thing out there? And rather than doing on average 200,000 pay-per-view buys, 300,000 pay-per-view buys, we got to the point he was doing the star minimum of like 750,000 pay-per-view buys minimum to million pay-per-view buys or whatever, because he had the support of his peers, going out there promoting why you guys should tune in, why should buy his pay-per-view and that kind of thing. And now he was a big enough star to sell his pay-per-views because his peers supporting him, and he was able to get like what he was owed financially for being as great a fighter as he was. And Francis was one of those guys like, nah, I'm not doing that. Nope, I don't agree. I worked my ass off to get from Africa to Paris and now Vegas to get to where I'm at, and I refuse to go back and try to help somebody else get there. And I'm looking at him like, dude, I'm not discrediting how hard you worked. I agree with you. You worked your butt off to get to where you're at. You overcame some crazy odds to get to where you're at. That's a great thing that you've done. But imagine how far you can go if you had the support of 300 of your peers pushing you to get to the next level you can get. And at the time, he wasn't hearing it. He wasn't feeling it. And at the end of the day, when you look at the UFC, you look at it as a business, there are some guys that like Conor McGregor's in that boat, Justin Pierre's in that boat, Jorge Masvidal got himself in that boat, Usman's in that boat, where they can sell enough pay-per-views where UFCs would justify paying them what they were paying. If you look at Francis Ngannou, for example, like, the reason, in my opinion, why I would think he's not getting what he's asking for is the UFC might be using pay-per-view numbers against him. Like, hey, you're only doing 300,000 buys or whatever. We're not willing to pay you X amount of dollars. So if he wants UFC to pay him what he feels like he's worth, he needs to do his part and up the numbers. Well, other than being a great athlete and going out there and smoking a competition, what else can he do that's not in his control? He can get the support of his peers. He can get 300 people lobbying for him, letting all the fans know why this is the baddest heavyweight matchup in the world and why he should tune in. And now he's able to hit that high mark pay-per-view sales and get the number he's looking for as far as his contract goes with the UFC and that kind of thing. But at the time and now, he just wasn't those guys. He was not one of those guys that was willing to hear that. He's just like, nah, do it on your own. Go out there and figure it out yourself. So it's kind of, I'm not saying it's that I enjoy some what it is. I wish he was getting paid what he was worth. I wish he was getting paid a lot more. But at the end of the day, when you're not willing to like stand with your peers and help them get was justified, when you're in the opportunity to do so, then what do you expect from everybody else at that point?
Wow, that's a very interesting take. I wasn't expecting that. It makes me think about it in a different way. And you had personal conversations with him. But Neil, you're an Army vet. The UFC has had some issues with fighters after they're done fighting. The benefits that you get after. A lot of guys struggling with injuries. A lot of guys struggling with some mental things. What do you think the UFC can do to improve that aspect of it?
The biggest thing is just being proactive as far as like one starting out and giving guys opportunity once they're in UFC. Like for myself, for example, I've been in UFC 10 years now. And UFC used to do something called like an athlete summit or athlete retreats
I
or
remember
something like that. And they will bring fighters in and they will bring different people in to kind of excuse me, explain to them different things or different aspects of the fight game. So you talk about nutrition, for example. Then you talk about like your taxes. Then you talk about what you're paying, that kind of thing. And for myself, I remember one specific year we had a whole panel of guys that came in, and one of the guys that came in there was Kobe Bryant. And after he gave his little spiel or his speech or whatever, he was standing on the side of the cage, or I'm sorry, of the stage, and a couple of his fighters kind of went up to him and kind of was picking his brain, like, "Hey man, like it's an honor to meet you. I'm glad you came out and talked to us. Like we really appreciate you taking the time to do so." And we're standing there talking to him at the time, and I'm thinking he's gonna go into like the whole Mamba mentality type thing and kind of dive into like why it's important to like train every aspect of your game and all this other stuff. But he jumped in and started talking about investing, and I'm just like, wait, what? Like the best athlete of my generation is standing in front of me right now, and rather than talking to me about like how I can like get the most out of my sport as an athlete, he's talking about investing, and I'm sitting there looking at it like, oh damn, that's not what I thought was gonna happen. Like I thought Kobe Bryant was gonna literally lay in and tell me about the mama mentality face to face, but instead it was about investing. So that at that time they got my wheels turning. They got me realizing like, damn, like if Kobe Bryant can realize that his career is not forever, it's gonna come to an end soon, or eventually, and he was prioritizing investing and doing things outside of the sport, then who am I not to start doing the same? So I started being proactive and kind of like investing in any way that I can in order to kind of still have the same lifestyle and access to different things outside of my UFC career. And as far as like what UFC can do, what other fighters can do, I think just giving guys an opportunity to educate them and give them these different perspectives of what they can do. Like talking to Kobe Bryant at the time, the man signed a multi-million-dollar contract out of high school. Being a UFC fighter, I'm not seeing those numbers. So, as a guy in my position, how do I invest for the future 20 years, 15, 20 years down the road with the money that I'm making or whatever? I had to like really dive into different things and look at what opportunities I can jump in order to provide for myself financially when fighting is over with. So I think having people who can pitch different investment ideas to these young fighters early on is something that UFC can do to be proactive about it. Of course, getting paid more is always something that's going to help. But in other sports, you see it as well. You see guys making millions of dollars and then they're broke within 5 years of fighting, and now they can't, or competing in sports, I should say, and now they can't afford the medical care or the treatment that they were getting while they were under contract. So I think expanding the care that we get outside of fighting can help, but it's just so many things they can do outside of what they're doing now. But the biggest thing I can suggest is like some of the athletes taking some accountability of what they do have and making sure they're creating some of these opportunities for themselves when fighting is over.
Yeah, that's it. He got his family so much left over. I know he passed away, God rest his soul. Investing into body armor was a very smart thing for him to do. And look at that, his family's going to be okay for generations down the road. So I
For sure.
couldn't agree more with that. But Neil, going back to the tough days, what is something that you probably can go back and regret? Like, you know what, I probably should have done that, or you could have done something a little bit better.
Right. If I honestly looking back on the tough days now and how it played out, and everything was like that, I wish I was just a little less professional on the Ultimate Fighter. Like, if I'm being honest, that's what they would have done different. Like, there was a stint where, like, when I talk about my season on Ultimate Fighter, a lot of people ask a similar question, like, "Hey, what season of the Ultimate Fighter were you on?" I think, "Oh, I was on Tough 16." Like, "Oh, what season was that? Who are the coaches?" Roy Nelson, Shane Carter. Like, "Oh, that was cool." Like, what else was your season? Well, I was on a Let Me Bang Bro season, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that season.
That
I
guy.
remember you on that season." So if I could do anything different, I would go back and I would slap the shit out of Judy and Lane when he was young. Let Me Bang. I would literally just walk up to him, and just literally smack the taste out this man's mouth. That way, every time someone brought up like my season and had to bring up like the whole let me bang situation, I'll be the guy who slapped the hell out of him while he was yelling that nonsense out or whatever. But other than that, that's something that would have done different.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Of course, Julian Lane's gonna hear that and go crazy because you know how he is in these days. But Neil, congratulations on the baby that you have coming up. You do have a son now, Liam, of course. What do you want him to know about your father, like when he gets older, that he couldn't probably see at this young age?
The biggest thing is just like what I do when no one is looking. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's gonna see highlights of my career. He's gonna see pictures of my military career. He's gonna see all that kind of stuff. But like the things that I do when no one's looking at define my character, those are things that I want him to take away and help mold him as the person he's gonna be. Whether it's a simple gesture of helping someone in need or something major by helping someone in a crisis or whatever. I want him to kind of take that away from me and kind of like still try to be the man that he sees himself as when people aren't looking or people aren't giving the credit for it. Because it's easy to get credit for doing things that you're quote unquote supposed to do and people see it. Like if I go out there and win a fight, yeah, I'm gonna get some congratulations, I'm gonna get some haters, I'm gonna get some of that or whatever. But what do you do for people who can't do anything for you in return? What do you do for people who are struggling and can't offer you anything for your service? Like what do you do for people like that? And if you can take that for me, I feel like he'll be good in whatever he decides to do in his life.
Yeah, and Neil, at the end of the day, what is that end goal? Is it to have is your legacy more important or the championship more important, or maybe them both together? Is
The
that
church is more important for my personal life and what like me feeling like man I started this thing as a dream as a 17-year-old kid and here I am holding the belt for the highest level of the sport that I set out on 15 years ago. So for me that would be like the ideal thing, but when I look more so it's like what it does for my family. I think the opportunities that it provides my son is what's gonna or my second child now coming is gonna be more important for that. Like you know what I mean? Like I was a first generation American, so for me, I didn't have access to a lot of things. I didn't have knowledge about a lot of things, so I kind of had to figure it out on my own as I went on. So if me earning a championship, me fighting for the UFC, if me doing all these things over the next 7, 8 years allows him to get a better opportunity or a step up in life, then for me, it's all worth it in that sense. Whether I get the belt or not, it'll be worth it that he gets to start further ahead in life than I ever did.
Yeah, and Neil, thank you for so much for coming on here. We'll talk, of course, as we always do. Anything you want to say to the fans out there and for the rest of the year coming up?
Not much, man. You guys can follow me on every social media platform at Neil Magny underscore 170. But more important to me, check out mission111.org. They have a Facebook page, Instagram page, and they do a lot of mission work in Haiti and the Philippines, and even here in the U.S. So check them out, give them a follow, and kind of keep up what they're doing throughout the world.
Absolutely. I'll put that in the link for this interview. Neil, thank you so much. The Hate Sensation. Appreciate it, brother. We'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you.